Hello everyone, welcome to my class on linguistics and structure of English language. Let us start our today's class with a discussion about ICA or immediate consequent analysis. Now, IC analysis is essentially a structuralist tool for syntactic analysis. IC analysis was first introduced by Bloomfield. However, it was later systematized and a theoretical formulation were given by Rollin Wells and Selling Harris. In IC analysis, every phrase or sentence is analyzed to its smallest meaningful unit possible. So, a sentence or a phrase is first cut into two natural divisions, and these constituents, as you call it, will further be divided into two natural divisions. This will go on till we get the smallest meaningful unit. Now, the smallest meaningful unit can be a morpheme at the morphological level, or it can be the words at the syntactic level. Now, IC analysis helps us to discover how units are hierarchically arranged in sentences, each lower level or constituent being part of the higher level construction. So we need to discuss about two terms here. One is construction and the other the constituent. What is a construction? It is a significant group of words or morphemes. What about constituents? Any word or morpheme, or it can even be a construction which can enter into a larger construction. That is what is known as a constituent. For example, we have here a construction, the boy shouted loudly. What are the constituents of this construction? The constituents are the boys and shouted loudly. So the construction there should be the boys and not the boy as written there. It is a mistake which I tried to rectify but then couldn't. So please understand it should be boys and not the boy in the construction. Anyway, the constituents will be the boys and shouted loudly. Now, when it comes to the second level of IC analysis, the boys and shouted loudly are both constructions, and the consequence of the construction, the boys, will be the and boys, and the consequence of the construction, shouted loudly, will be shouted and loudly. Always remember, in IC analysis, the construction will be divided into two divisions known as the binary divisions. So what are immediate constituents? Immediate constituents are the two constituents which are directly formed from a given construction. They are known as the immediate constituents. For example, in the sentence, the boy shouted loudly, the boys and shouted loudly, they are the immediate ICs of the sentence, the boys shouted loudly. And when it comes to the construction, the boys, the immediate consequence of this construction will be the and boys. I hope that is clear to you. Now, let us check what ultimate constituents are. Now, in the sentence, the boys shouted loudly, the ultimate constituents are the boy, shout, ed, loud, and ly. So these are known as the ultimate constituents because they cannot be divided further. Okay, so the boy shouted loudly is known as the construction, and the boys and shouted loudly are known as the immediate consequence or the consequence of the boy shouted loudly. Again, the boys and shouted loudly can be the constructions of the and boys and shouted and loudly. This will go on till we get the smallest meaningful analysis that is possible. I've already told you that is morpheme at the morphological level and words at the syntactic level. Now, IC analysis are usually binary, they are cut binary, and but then there can be exceptions. There are certain phrases or sentences where binary cut is not possible. There you will have multiple ICs. For example, let us take the phrase foot pound second. In this, foot, pound, second, all these three words are of equal importance and therefore it cannot be cut into binary, but then there will be three divisions for it: foot, pound, second. So it is an example for multiple ICs. Now, IC analysis can be represented in various ways. One is box diagrams, second topless boxes, 3 brackets, and 4 tree diagram. I have given you examples for each here. Box diagrams. The boys shouted loudly. The entire construction can be given in a single box. Now the consequence of this sentence, the boys and shouted loudly, are shown by two separate boxes within the single box. Again, the consequence of the boys are the and boys, and the consequence of shouted loudly are shouted and loudly, which are again shown by separate boxes. Now, the consequence of boys will be boy and s. Consequence of shouted, shout and ed. Consequence of loudly, loud and ly. Again shown by means of separate boxes. The same sentence can be shown by means of topless boxes or by means of brackets. The fourth way of representing it is by means of tree diagram, which we have already discussed. Now, what are the methods for determining the IC of a construction? Here you should understand that there is no hard and fast rule about determining the IC of a construction. A native speaker's intuition tells him where the cut should be. However, this is not something that is very easy for a second language speaker. Now, a linguist named H.A. Gleason suggests the following methods for determining the ICs of a construction. The first method, he says, is to compare samples. For example, you have a phrase like her son's school. Now you do not know where the cut should be. Should it be after her? Should it be after sons? Or should sons be taken separate and her school to be taken together? Or will we have multiple ICs for this phrase? We do not know. However, it would have been very simple if we had a construction which had just two constituents. For example, old man. There, of course, it's quite certain that the cut should be after old. Okay, so let us take a construction which has got just two constituents and which can be compared with her son's school. Okay, a construction that happens in almost a similar environment like Sam's school. Okay. Now, here you understand that instead of her sons, it can be easily replaced with Sam's. Her son's school, Sam's school. Now, where will the cut be for Sam's school? It is obvious that the cut will be after Sam's. Similarly, for her son's school, the cut will be after her son's. Okay, so one method to determine where the cut should be is to compare samples. But here you should note that the constructions that you are comparing are or should be in fact comparable. For example, let's take two constructions like Green Bay Packers and Green Bay Tree. Now, the words are almost the same in both the phrases. You have Green Bay in both the phrases. So, if you go by the first phrase, Green Bay Packers, then the cut for the second Green Bay Tree should also be after Bay. However, it would be wrong to have a cut after Bay in Green Bay Tree. What is the reason? Because in the first one, the name of the Packers is Green Bay, whereas in the second, it is green is just an adjective. It is a bay tree which is green. So, in these two phrases, the constructions are not in fact comparable. So care should be taken to see to it that the constructions that you take are or can be really compared with each other. Now, suprasegments also play a decisive role in assisting the native speaker to determine IC cuts. Suprasegments like stress and intonation. Now, when you're comparing two constructions or two phrases, then if they are really comparable, then the stress and the intonation will also be at the same place for both the constructions. For example, her son's school or Sam's school, say the stress was at almost the same place. Now, the third method to determine the where the IC cut should be is checking for the freedom of occurrence. How frequently have you heard the phrase? That is what it means by the freedom of occurrence. Now, let's take two constructions: old light church and old lighthouse. Now, old lighthouse. Okay, lighthouse. That is something that you might have heard much more frequently than light church. But then, if you go by old lighthouse, then the cut should be after old for light church as well. So it will be old light church. Okay, the cut is after old. But then if you analyze this construction, old light church, you understand that light church is not as you do not hear this phrase light church frequently. But then if you have given the cut after light for old light church, it will be old light slash and then the church. So in the coming sentence, I have given two phrases like old light and light church. When you analyze these two phrases, you understand that old light has a much more freedom of occurrence than light church. Okay, like old light church or new light church or bright light church, something like that. Okay, something to describe the church that is much more frequent than light church. So the freedom of occurrence is very important to decide where the cut should be. So in the construction old light church, the cut should be after light, old light church, and not old light church. Okay, I hope you have understood the difference there. Let's go to the yeah, there's one more thing I would like to tell you there. Now, the criterion for the freedom of occurrence does not work in all situations. For example, let's take this construction light housekeeping. There, if you have a cut after light, okay, then it becomes housekeeping that is quite light, a light housekeeping. Then, if you have a cut after house, it becomes lighthouse keeping. Okay, you're keeping guard of the lighthouse. So, two different meanings there, and both have an equal freedom of occurrence. You might have heard these two usages quite often. So, how do you decide where the cut should be? Now, in such situations, the context will determine where the cut should be. What is the context in which you are using this construction? Depending on that, you will have to decide where the cut should be. Now, the this construction light housekeeping is an example for constructional homonymity. So what do you mean by constructional homonymity? It shows a relationship between two or more constructions having identical ultimate elements. Okay, now you take light housekeeping, the ultimate constituents will be the same, whether the cut comes after light or the cut comes after lighthouse. The ultimate constituents will be the same, but then these two constructions will have two different constructional patterns as well as two different IC structures. Okay, so depending upon the context, the same construction, light housekeeping, can have two different constructions, two different IC structures. Now, it is because of this constructional homonymity that certain sentences appear to be quite ambiguous, because these sentences will have two different IC analysis. For example, let us take Stout Major's wife. It is an ambiguous sentence, and it is also a reason for us to laugh, because this is a sentence that can have two different meanings, right? Stout Major's wife can mean Major's wife who is stout. That this meaning will strike us when the cut is after stout. The major's wife is stout. That is the meaning. Now, if you give a cut after major's, it means the wife of a stout major. So it is not the wife who is stout, but it is the major who is stout. Now, the fourth useful test for ICs is substitutability. This is almost the same as what we discussed in the first test, where we said that ICs should be comparable. Okay, you can compare it with something with an IC that is known to you, and then you can decide where the cut should be. So this is somewhat related to the first one, which says substitutability is a very useful test to decide where the cut should be. For example, her son's school can be compared with Sam's school. Okay, now it is very easy to substitute her son's with Sam's school. Doesn't make any difference. Okay, now let us take another construction like her son's book is lost. Her son's book is lost. Now, can you replace her son's with Sam's there? Yes, you can. It will be Sam's book is lost. Okay, so you see there you can really substitute her son's with Sam's. Another example can be her son's friend is Jim. Try to substitute her sons with Sam's there. You can easily substitute her sons with Sam's and you get the sentence as Sam's friend is Jim. Okay, and the meaning is the same there. So what we understand here is that we are comparing her son's school with Sam's school. We are assuming that they have the same constructional pattern and constituents. Same here does not mean identical or even similar in form or meaning, but only that they are alike in their potentiality for entering into constructions. They should enter into several constructions otherwise identical. That is, one should be substitutable for the other. So this is what I meant when I said that her son's book is lost. It is an entirely new construction, and there you are replacing her son's with Sam's, and it equally makes sense. So that is a very useful test for determining the IC cut. Now, talking about constructions of three continuous sequences, for example, men and women. Now, usually we have binary cuts. We have already discussed about that. We usually have binary cuts for IC analysis, but then there are certain constructions where you cannot have binary cuts, but then you will have three continuous sequences like men and women. You cannot have a binary cut there, so it will be three continuous sequences, men and women slash men slash and slash women. Again, foot pound second system, there you will have the first IC analysis. You can have a binary cut, foot pound second one and system as another. But when it comes to the second IC, it will have to be cut into three ICs, foot slash pound slash second. Okay, because foot, pound, second, all these three words are of equal importance, so you cannot have a binary cut there. So that is an example for multiple ICs. Now, in the next video, we shall be discussing about labeled IC analysis as well as about the advantages as well as disadvantages of IC analysis. For the time being, we are concluding this session. I hope you have enjoyed this introductory video on IC analysis. So, see you in the next class. Thank you.